What's up, YouTube? This is Dodge the Grave, and today I am being joined by horror writer and narrator Dr. Gallow. How are you doing today, man?
Hello, I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me. I'm having a lovely evening so far.
Mm, I am so glad to hear it. um, I'm trying to stop laughing.
Just for listeners, I did not say anything funny or do anything funny. Okay.
It's the giggles. It's the pre-record giggles. So we've been meaning to do this for so long. I would say like a year or so.
Yeah, I think when you first approached me, it was probably about a year ago. Yeah. Um,
Mm,
it's one of those things. I never wanted to kind of chase you about it and hassle you because I know you have your own stuff going on. I figured if you still wanted to do it at some point, you would come back to me and you did. And here we are.
and here we are. Absolutely. I'm so glad we finally got a chance to. I think it's an even better time to talk now, though, because you have plans to publish another book this year, no?
I do, I do actually. Oh, thank you for picking up on that. Yeah, yeah, I think I've got one more in me. So I did one. I wrote. I don't know how it worked in other countries, but when COVID was at its peak in the UK, we had lockdowns, so the government limited interaction with people outside of your family. Bars and restaurants and stuff closed.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody who could work from home basically had to work from home. And it went on for a while, and then they opened up briefly, then it got bad again. So everything shut down again. And then, I don't know, I guess we're just kind of, I think everyone's just trying to live with COVID now. That's everyone's life, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
but because I couldn't really see anyone outside my family, I had a lot of nights free, and that's when I decided to firstly start my YouTube channel, um,
Mm-hmm.
and then try and write enough stories to publish my book, my anthology of short stories. And I'm planning one more. I think then I will have scratched that itch. I have quite,
Well, we'll see.
yeah. I mean, I say that, but then inspiration strikes. And I do. I really enjoy writing. Um, More than I enjoy, I would say, narrating my stories or anything else. Um, it's much less hassle. I just enjoy being in my own head and creating in that kind of way. Um, but yeah, I don't want to talk too specifically about the book that I'm planning to release this year because I think it's quite a good and original idea, and I don't want to put it out there just in case someone else goes, "Oh, that's a good idea," and then they're a better writer than me, and then totally steals my thunder.
you you had like an estimated release date of like September 1st, and then they publish it like a month before
Yeah,
or like a week before.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hi guys, here's what I'm doing right now, and some dude's like, "Ha ha, here's
Right.
my version of this." Yeah, that would be terrifying.
Oh
But I mean,
gosh.
I'm quite open about my work generally. That I'm not very secretive about stuff, but it's quite a specific idea. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and for that reason, I mean, someone might have already done it. I don't know. Um,
You never know, but I don't blame you for not wanting to share it. I understand that completely.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll share it with you maybe privately after we're off air. And I'd like some feedback about the idea, but I also don't want to just throw it out there, you know?
Understood. Yeah, don't forget then. Don't forget to tell me.
No, I won't.
Mm.
You bought my book, right?
I did. Yes, I read your first book.
What do you think?
I thought it was really good. I really liked it. I really like the the short stories, like that format of having short stories inside of a book because my attention span is too short right now for me to consume an entire book of one story.
Sure.
So your book was just perfect for me.
As a writer, I'm the same. I don't think I have a novel in me. I prefer to, if I get inspired, I have an idea, I want to bang it out there as well as I can and as well written as I
Mm,
can and have a start and a middle and an end to the story. And if it works as a short story, it works as a short story, you know?
that is a fact that I can relate to. I understand that completely because I have too many ideas and none of them are novel length in my brain.
Yeah.
They're just ideas. And if I can flesh it out in maybe 1,000 words or less, 500 words or less, then win win. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's not a whole 500 page
No,
book.
no. I did not have the patience for that. But like you, I have so many ideas. And I think even with the first book, I think some of them, I mean, I don't think a lot of them were particularly what I would call original ideas. There's a lot of ghost stories in there, vampire stories. I don't know. I'm kind of humble about this, but I think I'm good enough at creating a short tale, even if it's a bit of a trope and a bit of a cliche, to put a bit of my own spin on it to make it a bit fresh, if that makes sense.
Yes, I agree. I think you are good enough.
Thank you for saying that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Did I need to say? Yeah, I needed to say that. Yes, you are good enough. There aren't many books that I have finished, and I finished all 32 of your stories in your book, and I love the I love the variation of horror in your stories. How it's there's some that are heartfelt, there are some that are horrific, and there are some that are just something for you to think about. Like it's all types of horror, and I loved that. I think you did so good. I really liked
Well,
it.
thank you. Again, thank you so much for saying that. I think that's kind of what I was going for. I mean, one of my main influences in terms of short stories is Stephen King, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't think I've even read all his collected anthologies of short stories, but I've read a fair few. I've read Night Shift and Skeleton Crew, all the kind of older ones. And like he just did whatever he wanted. He was like, I'm just going to write this story and that's it. And I remember reading an interview with him back in the day, and he said he loved writing short stories so much because you don't have to explain anything. Things just happen. You know?
Yeah.
And I guess the same could be said for a novel. I suppose technically you wouldn't have to explain why a horrific thing was occurring in a horror novel. Um, but it's kind of more expected in a short story. It's like, yeah, something horrible's happening. Here you go. You like horror? Read this. Be horrified by it. And it's and my influences are I love horror movies. Um, I recently started an account with Letterboxd, which is it's like a social media thing for movie fans, like cinephiles.
Oh, okay.
A couple of my friends were on it, so I created an account um, with the pure intention of going through the horror category and
Mm-hmm.
clicking that I had watched it. Sometimes I rate them, sometimes I just click that I've watched a horror movie, just because I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
know, now that I'm in middle age, just how many horror movies I've actually seen.
Yeah.
Um, the total, and I don't think I've got all of them, is up to, I think it was 453.
Gee.
But like
What?
it exclusively horror movies. Like I'm not.
Yes.
I mean, I watch other movies, right? But my Letterboxd account is for that purpose of knowing how many horror movies I've watched. So I have not liked a single thing or clicked that I've watched a single movie other than horror movies, and it was 450 something.
Goodness. Whoa.
Horror nerd,
It's huge. You are a huge horror nerd. I don't think I have seen more than, shoot, maybe 10,
What
15.
horror movies?
Yeah,
Really? Like
really.
as someone who does narrate horror stories, I thought you'd have been more into the genre than that. It's
Right. I would
not a
also.
criticism by any means, just an observation.
No, I know. It's just assumed that, if I'm a horror narrator, I love horror so much that I live and breathe it, and so I narrate it. But that's not the case.
Sure. I mean, I know there's a massive difference between people who just want to narrate horror stories um and not necessarily be that into horror. I do get that. Um, I'm just surprised, like because we before we started recording, we were talking about some horror movies.
I like horror movies, but I am very specific about the kind of horror movie I watch.
Do you have a favorite horror movie?
It's Yes, it's actually it was written by Stephen King, but it was made into a movie on Netflix.
Gerald's Game.
That's a good one too. That movie was really good. Like so creepy good, but no, it was 1772. No one knows what I'm talking about.
No, I do. Is
No
it
one
got
ever knows.
is Thomas Jane in that? Yeah,
Yes,
I've seen
he
it's on
is.
Netflix in the UK.
Oh,
But I
great.
haven't watched it. I've seen how it shows you the kind of thumbnail of the movie or the series, and it's got Tom Jane on it, so I
Yes.
know that he's in it, but I haven't actually watched it. I watched a Stephen King adaptation recently called 1408 on Netflix.
Yeah, John Cusack.
I stuck it out to the end, but I had like three I think 3.5 hour breaks. It was
Oh.
I think I wrote this is another thing you can do on that letterbox website I was talking about.
Uh-huh.
You can review a movie that you've seen.
Right.
I don't review every movie that I've seen. It's more about the numbers. But I reviewed that, and I said something along the lines of, "Imagine the only scary thing about the Overlook Hotel was room 237,
Hmm.
but it wasn't actually that scary, and the Overlook Hotel was situated in a shitty version of Silent Hill. That's
Yes.
what this film is." And I felt mean. I don't like to talk shit about films. I know how much effort it takes to make a movie. I don't disrespect the process,
Right.
but man, I was so bored watching that. It was so derivative. Uh,
I can't imagine you be, having watched over 400 scary movies, not, oh my gosh, not getting bored by a horror movie. I feel like most horror movies you've seen have bored you because you've seen so many.
no, not really. I mean, in that it's a genre, obviously, there are horror films that are terrible,
Mm-hmm. Of course.
as with as with any genre. Like the comedies that are terrible,
Yeah.
and it's all subjective in it anyway.
Right.
And I understand what you're saying. That there's probably an element of being desensitized to things, but no, I'm a total wuss when it comes to anything sort of slightly paranormal. If it's a good film, I will be scared by it. But I think a good film is a good film. It doesn't matter whether it's a horror movie or not. If it's a boring horror movie, it's because it's a boring film. The genre doesn't matter.
There you go.
I take issue with the fact that some people will say that horror, like if it doesn't scare you, it's not a horror film,
No.
which I think is kind of silly because it's what scares you is subjective.
Right.
But I think what defines a horror movie or a horror, novel or whatever is the intention to scare or horrify you.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it succeeds in doing that or not doesn't make it any less of a horror. Like you could watch a comedy movie where they try and make you laugh. If you're not into the humor and you think it sucks and you don't laugh one time, doesn't make it any less of a comedy movie.
Hmm. Interesting. Is it possible for you to have a favorite horror movie?
I have been asked this before. What I normally do is say I have like a top five,
Okay,
and that changes
of
based on
course.
what I've seen as I get older. I appreciate some nuance that maybe I didn't pick up on in a movie like 10 years before.
Right.
Um, Off the top of my head right now,
Mm-hmm.
um, The Lost Boys,
Okay.
the vampire movie,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
uh, The Return of the Living Dead, which is a zombie movie, obviously.
Right.
It's very funny, but also kind of poignant, has excellent effects. And I watched it when I wouldn't say too young. I probably watched it when I was about 12. But I would say, I think your movie classifications in the States, what rated R, what age
Uh,
is rated R?
I'm not sure. Maybe 18.
Right, okay. Well, I was going to say, yeah, Return of the Living Dead is an 18 in the UK,
Okay.
so possibly rated R.
Okay.
Um, An American Werewolf in London.
Okay.
Um, Let the Right One In.
Okay. What's that one?
Is it Norwegian? It's somewhere in Europe. It's another vampire movie, but it's 2008. It was made. It's definitely European. I think maybe not Swedish, maybe Norwegian. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but a foreign language movie certainly if you're a native English speaker. Um, Young boy who's being bullied um, gets a new neighbor, 12-year-old girl
Mm.
who happens to be a vampire.
Oh.
Uh, it's a little bit violent, but I wouldn't say like overtly. It doesn't do it to shock you. It's not like violent for the sake of violent, which I don't mind that in movies either. But it's just a really sweet, beautiful film,
Oh.
beautifully shot,
Hmm.
beautifully acted. Um, yeah, like the right one. They remade it actually, with what's her name? Girl who plays Hit Girl in
Oh, that
Kick-Ass.
girl. Yeah. Uh-huh.
They remade it like a English language one, an American version of it called Let Me In. So it's the same story, but with what's her name?
I can't remember it.
I'm so upset because I think she's absolutely astounding actress.
Yeah.
I'll say my final one at the moment would be it's Chloe Grace Moretz.
Is that it?
That's definitely her.
Mm.
And my final movie would be one called Martyrs. It's a French movie from 2008, which they have also remade in the English language. It's I kind of think everybody should watch Martyrs
Yeah.
because it's such a good film, but it's also one of the most horrible films I've ever seen.
Oh.
And that's a guy who's watched as many movies as I have.
Right.
It's a hard watch in places, but it all has a purpose and a meaning.
Would you recommend the original or the remake?
I haven't seen the remake. I've only seen the original,
Uh,
so it'd be the original.
okay.
It's gruesome and bad things happen. If you can suspend your disbelief to watch something that you think might actually make you feel a certain way. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I don't know how to phrase this.
You're right.
It's an excellent film with purpose, but it is a hard watch. Not the hardest watch I've ever seen, but it's a hard watch. But an excellent film and a perfect horror movie.
If I could put All Quiet on the Western Front, the remake, as a horror film, I would absolutely make that one my top horror film ever because that movie was amazing.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's on Netflix. It's so good.
I've seen it on that. Is the remake quite recent?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen it on there. You know when it shows you the trending movies, I've seen it on there. I think.
It won awards and it deserves every single one of them and more. Yeah. It's great.
Have you
Beautiful.
seen the original too?
No, I haven't.
See, I'm not anti-remake either. Like, I think good stories deserve to be retold,
Mm-hmm.
and I think other people should put their spin on them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I always have a caveat when someone, like, if someone who's like doing that has a YouTube narration channel buys my book, I'll say, well, if you paid for it, you know, you're welcome to narrate any story in there that you want. That comes with your money. And I also encourage people to put their own spin on it, you know, rewrite it, you know, change things up a little bit.
Huh. Interesting spin. Okay. I just realized that you were allowing people who bought the book to narrate any story in it. I just, like, literally right before we started the interview, I was like, wait, what? Oh my gosh, guess what I'm doing this weekend?
Well, even if you had not paid for my book, you'd be welcome to narrate anything of mine anyway, because you do such a good job.
Oh,
I'm always happy for it. I'm always happy to hear your narrations of my stuff. You have a very such a kind of a soothing voice, which kind of there's a juxtaposition between your voice and the actual content, and it works. It's soothing, yet the content is scary.
dude, thank you.
I hope it's scary.
It is scary. Ooh. I thought Down the Witch Hole was in the book, but it's not. That is one of my favorite stories that you've written. It literally gave me chills. That one and They Say It's Haunted. My favorite ones.
You narrated They Say It's Haunted, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
And did you? Sorry, forgive me. Did you voice the woman in Down the Witch Hole as well?
Yeah.
I thought you were. But yeah, the caveat has always been if you buy whether it's a hard copy or the ebook version of my first book, um, you are welcome to use any story in there and narrate it for your channel if you have one.
Love it.
So feel free. They're not all like first person perspective,
Right.
obviously. Oh, you know that you've read it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it doesn't lend itself to every channel's style if they do like exclusively creepy. How do you say it? Creepy pasta or creepy pasta?
Creepy pasta. Creepy pastas, yeah.
So I'm never sure being British because like I think creepy pasta is like the food.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So why is it called creepy pasta then?
No idea. I do not know.
Because I always thought that creepy pasta as as a name or as a figurative term for that sort of style was derived from people copying and pasting it on like message boards and emails years ago.
Which is why you thought it was pasta.
So
Mm,
creepy pasta, yeah.
yeah.
But maybe that's what it was, and everyone just decided it was pasta anyway.
They just changed
I
it.
don't make the rules.
No one makes the rules. They just arrive. They just show up and we just go with it.
Yeah, that's it. Far be it from me to judge anything like that.
Right. I'm not going to change the rules. They're there for a reason. Whatever reason that is. And I think that's how I how I got to meet you. Was it They Say It's Haunted first or was it 31 Ghosts first?
Uh,
Hmm.
mm, I can't remember.
Yeah.
I suspect I suspect 31 ghosts.
I feel it. I feel like that's right. And so I sent out a tweet asking for if any writers had any stories about haunted houses.
Yes, and I saw that and shared that with you.
And you shared that one and then a couple of other ones as well. And it was just perfect. It was I think it was meant to be because your story 31 Ghosts was put over my gameplay of Phasmophobia And
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Which I still haven't played, by the way.
you still haven't played it.
No, well, I don't have I've got a really crappy laptop, so it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of memory, so it can't run games really. It
Ah,
does what I needed to do in terms of like editing for videos and such, and audio. But yeah, I'm an Xbox guy, and it's not on consoles, I don't think.
I don't think so either. But the things that happened in the Phasmophobia gameplay just correlated with, if I'm even using that word right, went with the story so well. Like, I barely had to do any editing of the gameplay. It was just
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah. It absolutely correlated with it. It fit side by side so well, even though it wasn't the same thing happening.
Right.
It didn't matter. It was, the gameplay just matched up with what was going on. Yeah.
And then the next game, the next time I played Phasmophobia, there was the ghost was situated inside of the bathroom in the in the bathtub area. And I was like, "Are you kidding me? This is perfect." Yes. And it went with your next story inside your book as well. I was like, "Perfect. Yes."
Yeah, it goes hand in hand. I'm kind of gutted that I haven't actually managed to play it yet. As I say, I have no platform to actually play the game on, so I vicariously play it when I watch your videos,
Mm.
and then I sit there all smug, going, "Ah, cool, someone's reading my work at the same time."
Yeah, nice. Look at that. Win-win.
Yep, win-win for me.
Well, I'm dying to know about how you came up with your character and the costume for Dr. Gallow.
So, as I was saying earlier, what I started the channel and started writing stories during what we called in the UK the lockdown period, where we couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I had a lot of free time. That's when I essentially wrote most of the book, um, and when I started the YouTube channel because I couldn't couldn't really do anything else. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I didn't set out to be a narrator, like a YouTube creepypasta or horror narrator in the same respect that probably some of our mutual friends do. Um, so you've got obviously people like Papa Scare, you've got Lady Spookaria,
Mm-hmm.
other people, and there's a whole huge market for it. People will, subscribe to channels like that and listen to them. I think the vibe is, or the done thing is, if you want to start a channel like that to get content for it, you hit up every day or every however long you want to make a video. You hit up a bunch of uh, Reddit posts on like no sleep
Right. Or short, scary stories, or
or short series or creepypasta or whatever.
yeah.
Ask them for permission to narrate their story
Right.
because you have to get permission, right?
Exactly. Yes.
I think most of them probably say yes, and then someone who's doing it, as a supplement to their income, shall we say,
Mm-hmm.
or perhaps even their sole income. I don't know. They might make so much money out of it they don't have a day job. Don't know. But I think the formula is ask a bunch of people on Reddit permission to narrate their stories. Everyone that says yes, you sit down and then you narrate them, you release a video, and subscribers will just kind of appear because there's a huge market for that sort of thing.
Right.
It wasn't my intention to do that. I genuinely, um, I hate narrating. I find it a massive faff.
Mm.
Do you have faff in the States?
No, we don't.
Faff being a pain in the ass.
Rear. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can't be bothered with this. It's a massive faff. Oh, it's too faffy.
Yeah.
Faff is like you can't be bothered with it,
Yeah.
essentially. I don't particularly enjoy narrating, and I did not set out to be a narrator.
Mm.
I set out to, it was a hobby, because of lockdown. And I wanted to, if you've seen any of my original videos, they're all quite short,
Yes.
um, because I can't do the voice for very long.
Yeah, that's harsh. That's harsh on your throat.
Yeah, yeah. So, but they're all kind of like 3 minutes top. Some of them are like a minute and a half. What I was trying to do was try and keep some of the creepier side of British folklore alive
Mm,
by recording it and putting it on YouTube. All the kind of stuff that I was into when I was growing up in the 80s. I had books of myths and legends and, monsters and ghosts and all that sort of stuff.
hmm.
Things that really influenced me to this day. And that was my intention, was to record some of those stories and just put them on YouTube for posterity. And then I wanted to have fun with it. So I thought, well, I'll make a character. Um, so in terms of influence of the character, back in the early 90s in the UK, are you familiar with like the concept of a horror host?
No.
Okay. So someone, I think the most famous example is probably like Elvira,
Yes.
right? So she in the 80s she would have a show where they'd show an old movie and she would host it and talk in between bits of the movie and stuff.
Like the Crypt Keeper?
Yeah, exactly like him, like Tales from the Crypt guy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Exactly that. Yeah, that's like a horror host basically. Um, we had one in the UK in the early 90s called Dr. Walpurgis, which they changed his name to Dr. Terror shortly after, which I think was kind of lame.
Yeah.
But he was like a huge thing. Like when I mean, it was the early 90s, so I would have been like 11. So I'd stay up watching TV in my bedroom, and this guy would appear, and he had his makeup was excellent. It was like a devilish kind of um, prosthetics, full face makeup with like pointy ears and a long chin. Really devilish, really cool.
Mm.
And then he'd show movies like John Carpenter movies, and so he was kind of my influence when I decided on that I wanted to do it with a character. I looked on eBay for masks that you could wear, and that when you talked, the mouth would move, like the jawbone, sorry, the jaw would go up and down,
Yes.
and that the one that you see on YouTube now is the most horrible, creepiest one that I could find.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I've modified it a little bit. I cut the jaw off and then reattached it so it's tighter, so that it moves better with my actual jaw
Mm.
when I try and like um when I use it to narrate. But I don't actually use the mask to do the narration because I have to wear like a black not a balaclava but like a black face mask
Yes. Uh-huh.
before I put the actual Dr. Gallow mask on,
Right.
so that you can't see my face underneath the big flappy jaws, right?
Yeah.
Um, and also, like, I can't record like that because it sounds really muffled.
Mm.
So what I do, and this is why his appearances in the videos have gotten more rare because it's so much more of a faff.
Mm.
I record the audio and clean it up and do all the things I need to do, amplify it, do the noise reduction on it, and then I'll create a separate file with whatever bits I want him to actually appear in the video to say, not just with a picture narrating the story. Bits I want Dr. Gallo to appear on talking, and I play it on my laptop and I record myself on my phone with the mask on,
Mm-hmm.
and I mime to my own vocals essentially.
I figured.
I think if you think about it, it probably seems fairly obvious that that's how you would have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you have any kind of interest or ongoing stuff like you do with your channel and you know audio, it's just not feasible to record with something covering your mouth in a mask. It doesn't work.
Right.
So yeah, yeah. So I mime it. Um, I do. I usually I'll create a file of like three takes of the whole thing that I want to actually record, and I'll do three takes of it live, and then I'll edit whichever one that I mime the best at.
Mm.
Essentially, is the one that I will use.
Oh, goodness. Thank goodness you don't have to say it 3 times. You just have to mime it. Holy cow, you'd be done.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. It's a bit of a faff, but it's quite fun. I think it's quite a unique way to do the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
and because I never really set out to be a narrator when I first started doing it, I fell into the narrator community because that's what I based my Twitter account around. And I had no idea that horror narrations were really a thing on YouTube. I didn't know there were people like, people who have like Swamp Dweller or something who has
Right.
like, I don't even know if he's got millions now, but certainly several hundred thousand um, subscribers. I didn't know it was a thing. I just did my thing because it was fun and it was a hobby, and I needed a creative outlet. I've made friends in that community now because they embrace me, and it's been very wholesome and nice for the most part. But it wasn't what I set out to do. I was always more interested in the writing, and I found my voice writing again after I started the YouTube channel because then I wanted to, instead of going down the Reddit route of asking people for permission, I thought, well, why don't I just start writing again and put my own stuff out there? And that's kind of where it is.
Heck yeah. Do you have are any of the stories not yours on your channel?
Um, I've got, as I said, when I started doing the channel, I was doing British folklore. So, I mean, there weren't really
Oh,
anybody's stories. I
right.
was researching it and then just like rewriting it to narrate it my own way. So it's just folklore. So it was already out there.
Yeah,
So nobody owns it.
right.
Um, I did a couple, like I bought these really old, there were like these anthology books back in the, I think the 70s, like the Pan Book of Horror Stories. And it would be a collected edition of different authors, established authors, I think, at the time, and just a collection of horror stories. Some of them are really hugely dated. Um, but I found a bunch of those in a charity shop one time at
Mm.
Goodwill.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they were like 50 pence or whatever that is in the current exchange rate. So I've got like seven of those, and I read a couple of them for the channel. I thought that they're so old. I suspect the author might be dead and won't care.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't ask anyone for permission. They were so old. I thought no one's gonna
Right.
care. And then I did narrate a Clive Barker story. Um, and admittedly did not. I mean, how would you ask Clive Barker for permission? He's huge, you know.
Right.
Um, there's no way I could approach him to ask for permission. But I figured I'll just do it anyway, and then if someone finds it and they don't like it, I'll get a copyright strike and I'll take it down.
Mm.
I think if Clive Barker sees it, hopefully he'll be like, "Oh, that's pretty cool. Someone narrated one of my stories." You know, he's a big, massive influence on me as a writer, Clive Barker. Um, so I kind of hope for the best, and so far he hasn't sued me.
So far.
No, and it was like 3 years ago I put that out. I don't think it will come to anything.
You don't
Um,
know. Like I did a narration of what was it? The first few chapters of It.
oh really?
I
And
did.
they jumped on you?
And he jumped on me. Yeah.
Oh man, well, Stephen King,
Stephen King did.
what a dick.
It's
I
his
mean,
story.
I know, but I mean, he wouldn't have even that wouldn't have even been on his radar. He wouldn't have seen that. His lawyers would have seen that
I
and just protected his copyright, I think.
something that was before I started horror narrating and realizing that you need to get permission first. I was like, it's just like the first 3 chapters. Like, He doesn't care.
Yeah,
I'm not doing the whole book. It'll fly under the radar. It'll never care. And then before I knew it, it
bloody
took a
hell.
few years before it was noticed. But yeah, strike.
Was it? Did it happen like after the new movie came out? Because I wonder if the rights changed or something, and they got more on top of it.
Yeah, it was after the movie came out.
Maybe, maybe they got lawyers onto like every copyright shit then for that or something.
Maybe anything's possible.
Maybe. Well, I actually, on a related note,
Mm.
I've done something.
What?
I've I'm actually going to put this video out there tonight,
Okay.
which I assume this what we're recording now isn't going out tonight.
No, it's not.
No. So at the time of talking to you, it's what, the 17th of March?
Uh huh.
Yeah. Um, I've put a video on YouTube that I haven't actually made live yet.
Okay.
It's a short story, an original short story that I've written, um, uh, uh, based in the Hellraiser universe.
Mm.
So it's about the box, you know, the Hellraiser box,
Yes.
the lament configuration, essentially.
Yes.
Very short. It's like 4 minutes long. It's about someone's encounter with the box at some point in the 80s. So I've done it, and I've made the title "The Boy and the Box," an original Hellraiser story. Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
So if that does not get picked up by copyright infringement filters, and I don't get told to take it down, then well, you can do anything you want. It's a free for all, man.
It's free for all.
Because I'm assuming, like, I don't know if you saw it. There was like the new Hellraiser movie came out last year, which was like the remake, reimagining of the original.
I didn't know that. Okay, okay.
Have you seen the original?
Yes, I have.
It's one of my favorite horror movies. I love it. Right? I watched the remake. I was really pumped for it. You know, I'm not anti-remake whatsoever. I think
Right.
there are some really good remakes of horror movies. I think Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead was excellent. David Cronenberg's The Fly was excellent. Um, Even Tom Savini did a remake of Night of the Living Dead in 1990, which was excellent. I'm not anti-remake. I think, as I said perhaps previously, I think good stories deserve to be retold,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And this new Hellraiser, I had that in mind when I saw the trailer for it. I was like, this it's one of my favorite movies. I love the mythology. I love the Cenobites, Pinhead, etc. I was pumped for it, and then I watched it, and I was like, I found it really boring,
Boring.
essentially. Yeah,
Dang.
it's absolutely a horror movie, and there are some great horror moments in it. The reimagined Cenobites are they look great. They do. They look excellent. It's like in the original movies, like the first few, like they kind of look like they have like leather, like bondage gear on.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So they do away with that in the new ones.
Hmm.
Their uniforms is like their skin,
Oh.
and underneath that, like say, I don't know how to explain this well. Like their costumes are their own skin, and there are bits in between, like joints and stuff where you can just see underneath like the muscle and like redness
Yes.
of that that can kind of been partly flayed and that made their skin their costume. It's a reimagining of like really highly well regarded and iconic horror characters that really works.
Which do you prefer?
Oh, the original by
Yeah.
miles. The remake had that and some creatively cool moments. Jamie Clayton played um, Pinhead
Mm.
and did not play it like Doug Bradley because you can't repeat that performance.
Right.
She had her own take on it,
Mm.
and she absolutely smashed it. It was just it was too long. It was boring. I liked what they did with some of the mythology, some stuff about the box and the configuration, but the lament configuration. Yeah, they had some really good ideas, but they just didn't all really fit well into a 2 hour film. It could have been like an hour and a half, and it would have been tighter, and I think it would have been better.
Wow, that's a lot of time.
Mm,
That's unfortunate.
mm.
Bet you're really hyped for it.
I was super hyped for it, man. I'd never really heard of Jamie Clayton either. Now she got announced for it to be the new Pinhead. Obviously, an iconic role in horror. Even if you've never seen any of the Hellraiser movies,
Hmm.
there's a chance you might have seen some imagery of Doug Bradley as Pinhead because it's such an iconic horror movie, right?
Right.
And I didn't know anything about her, and then I saw her in the makeup before the movie came out, and I was like, "That's excellent. They've done an excellent job." And she was great, absolutely great. But the parts that I liked, including her performance, just didn't add up to a good enough film for me.
Mm.
If you're going to remake Hellraiser, it needs to be absolutely banging, and it just wasn't. It was kind of dull, unfortunately. I found it dull. A lot of other people really liked it, so I'm not saying don't watch it, just it wasn't for me.
Fair enough. Not everyone's gonna love it.
No, and that's fine, isn't it? We don't all have to love the same things, you know?
No, of course not. I am going to jump into one of our subscriber submitted questions.
Sure.
This one is from King of the Canadian Hill. Thank you so much for your question, King.
My boy, Captain Canada.
Yeah.
I love him, man. He's such a good guy.
He is. He's man, he loves a poop joke.
Yeah, he does. I love his art. I love his artwork as well.
Right?
Did you ever see that picture that he did of all like there were like several different narrators on it who all had like a persona like me with Dr. Gallow.
Yes,
He
I
did a
did.
collective thing. That was so cool. I
Yeah.
was so flattered to be in that. It was
Oh,
that was really cool.
yeah, he did a good job.
He's really funny as well. He's a funny guy.
He is. I hope he keeps up with his art cuz man, he could really do some good stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
He asks, "Where do you get your inspiration for the stories you create?"
It's a difficult question
Mm,
in that there could be several different angles. That's, for example, my literary inspirations are Clive Barker, Stephen King, Neil Gaiman,
mm-hmm.
and Terry Pratchett, I would say, to an extent. To a lesser extent, Terry Pratchett. I think there's humor in my stories, but it's a bit more subtle. The horror story.
Right.
Um, Horror movies that I've seen for years have helped to shape my style of writing. I think I know well enough how to tell a story based on the things that I've experienced with horror media, horror art.
Mm,
Um, but I mean, in terms of inspiration for a story, like anything, anything could inspire you. If I can make it horrifying or try and make it horrifying in some way, literally, I could look at like a jar and go, what can I make? What can I do about a jar?
yeah.
I haven't done that yet. I might do that as a challenge. Maybe you'll see that in the next book, some sort of jar horror story. But what I've really found since my little boy was born,
Mm,
he's 8 now. He just turned 8.
mm,
I find, I mean, I write horror stories, obviously, and I write them because I write about things that I think are horrifying. Um, and I think my fear about something happening to him
yeah.
comes through in some of my stories over the last couple of years that you narrated. What's it called? The one with the two girls.
They say it's haunted.
That's the one.
Yeah.
But kids.
Yes.
I've become massively more sensitive to horror about kids. I found that more horrifying than I probably did 8 years ago before my son was born. So that's kind of an inspiration in itself because I find that scarier. And I think that I've written more stories where kids are the protagonists and um, perhaps bad things happen to kids because I find that horrifying. And that's my main inspiration as a horror writer is to write things that are horrifying.
That was going to be my next question because there are a few stories in your book that involve children. Um, Season's Greetings comes to mind, where there's a little boy that's walking around on Halloween and
Yeah,
he comes to a house that isn't decorated by Halloween decorations.
yeah,
And not to give away the ending of the story, it's heartfelt. And I wondered if any of the stories sort of inspired you because you are a parent now, or where that tender, gentler side, or even more horrific side comes through. Yeah.
yeah. I think they do. As I said, I think I'm now that I have a child, I find stuff to do with children in horror more disturbing.
Yeah.
Um, but ironically, that story that you mentioned is, I would say, probably my most personal story. Um, and it's kind of the opposite. Like that story's about me.
Mm,
Um, I didn't know it was about me when I was writing it. Um, it's an interpretation of an experience that I had when I was, don't know, I guess about 8 years old. Um, I'm happy to spoil it, actually.
mm.
Um, I don't care.
Yeah, it's just one of the many stories in there. Yeah.
Yeah, as you said, there's a kid wandering around on Halloween, um, who goes he journeys through the streets and then he goes to his what transpires to be his old house, and he looks in the window, um, very excitedly because he thinks he's going to see his mum,
Mm,
and don't know how to explain it without can't tell the whole story obviously. Um, but essentially, the story alludes to there being an accident with him and his mum, and Halloween being their favourite night of the year. And there was an accident. I tried to write it in such a way that the reader would think that the mum was the person who died, when in reality, actually, it's the kid who died.
mm.
And him running through the streets is his once a year anniversary thing. He wants to see his mum again, and so he goes up to the window of their old house. And then I think the perspective cuts off from him to his mum,
Yes.
and she hasn't put any decorations up because uh, it's too hard for her because it was, obviously her son died like the year before on the night. Um, when I was definitely 8. It might have been just before my ninth birthday. Um, I lived in Scotland with my mum and my stepdad, and my mum died
Mm,
just before I was 9. She had bowel cancer, and this was like 1989. And she didn't know she had it because when she found out she had it, she was 33.
oh, wow. She was young.
Yeah, it's kind of an illness you associate with people who a bit older. And I
Right.
was only kind of 8 at the time. I didn't know what was going on. I knew she was in hospital, in and out. And there was one day I knew there was a chance that she was coming home from hospital. And when I got home from school, I ran to the front window of the front room of my house
Mm,
and looked up at the window to see if my mum was there. and she was, and it meant the world to me. She shouted at me. She's like, "Get," in a Scottish accent,
Mm.
"You get down off of that window. You get down off that window."
Oh, got it.
But yeah, that's one memory I have of my mum just like not long before she died.
Mm.
I don't know. She did go back into hospital, so I don't know if she was home for palliative care, if she knew she was dying at that point, or what. But yeah, that story maybe with this fresh information, if you read it again, it might make sense where I was coming from with it because it was literally about me, and I was getting that out of my system, and I didn't know I was doing that until I read it, and I went, "Oh shit, this is about that day."
Wow. Very subliminal. Just snuck up right on you.
Yeah,
Mm.
it really did. Right. Yeah, most of them, I mean, there are personal experiences in probably some of them because of just inspiration. If you write, you get inspired by the things that happen to you. You
Yeah.
know? But yeah, absolutely, some of those stories would not have been written if I didn't have a kid, because that opened up a new level of perception of horror to me.
I don't know how parents do it.
Well, like if you watch a movie and a kid dies, it's horrifying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants kids to die on any level, and it makes the movie harder to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like Schindler's List, where you have the little girl with a red coat, it's more affecting than an adult dying a lot of the time.
Right.
You know, not that I'm saying that adults dying isn't horrific in itself, but like kids dying, and I think like animals dying in movies as well.
Right.
People go nuts when a dog dies in a movie.
John Wick. They were like Keanu Reeves kill anyone who was responsible.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I guess you could say I'm back for a fourth movie because they killed my dog in the like 10 years ago. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Um,
And we're like, yeah, go get him.
exactly. Yeah. Who kills a dog?
Who
Who
does
kills a dog?
that? A puppy.
Horrible people.
Ugh.
But yeah, I think the same principle kind of applies. People react more strongly to defenseless beings having bad things done to them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you kill a kid or you kill an animal that can't defend itself,
Mm.
it's just so much more horrifying. And also because they don't really understand why it's happening to them.
Right.
I mean, as an adult, I guess you probably wouldn't know if someone just decided to kidnap and torture you, but you might have the rationale in your head, like, well, he's. I don't know why you would try and justify it. You wouldn't, but you might think, well, it wouldn't have the same level of innocence to it.
Right. Yeah.
A kid wouldn't think I'm being tortured to death because this guy's nuts, whereas an adult would go, "Oh God, this guy's nuts. I'm not getting out of here."
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I can, and I could see a child maybe taking it personally. I mean, whatever.
well, because everything's personal to a child.
Mm.
Their whole world is them.
Yeah.
That I love my kid. He's growing up to be a really sweet boy, but he's massively selfish. He
Yeah.
doesn't do anything. But that's what kids do. That's just kids, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The whole world revolves around them.
And for that reason, they're so innocent. That
Mm.
why would you do this to me? If
Mm-hmm.
someone's setting fire to them or something awful like that.
Yeah.
Why is this happening?
I've been good. Why is this happening?
Yeah.
Mm. Let's go to another question from one of our Twitter users. This one is from Daisy Shylass. Thank you for your question, Daisy. She asks, do you write things that you find scary yourself, or do you use formulas that you know to be scary to others? Mm.
Firstly, thank you to Daisy. She's a friend of mine.
Mm.
I appreciate the question. She's been very supportive of my work, um, generally. So it's nice for her to engage with us like this. I would say a bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
I write things that I think I would find scary. But I mean, say I had a phobia of like bananas,
Hmm.
and I couldn't be in the same room as a banana because I thought it was going to get me, right? Um, I wouldn't write a horror story about a banana because like literally nobody else would would be scared or horrified by that.
A cat.
You know what? Actually, you know why I chose that? Because I used to have this office job.
Mm.
There was a guy who worked in the office who was actually scared of bananas.
Oh.
He's a good guy. I got on with him really well, but periodically someone would get a banana and a biro pen and draw a scary face on it and leave it on
Oh.
his seat, but push the seat under the desk. So
Right.
he'd get into work and pull the seat out and they just like crap his pants because it was
Oh.
so cruel,
That is
so cruel.
cruel.
Um, so maybe that wasn't a very good analogy. Uh,
So someone is scared of bananas. It's not just you.
so I mean, someone somewhere is scared of everything,
Right.
aren't they?
Yeah.
There's got to be someone. There must be someone on Earth who's scared of, I don't know, a cup of tea, or
Right. Yeah, there's
you know,
someone.
or yeah. There's someone somewhere for some probably horrible traumatic reason, and I won't
Mm.
mock it. But
Right.
like me with Jaws, right?
Right.
I'm scared of great white sharks because I watched Jaws at a very young age, and I think there's a little bit of trauma in there, because I was so young. But I think if you're scared of bananas, maybe it is just an evolutionary thing for some reason. The lizard part of your brain has developed a phobia about bananas. I don't know why that would be, but I'm not going to mock it because it could be deeply rooted in some sort of trauma,
It has to
right?
be because that's like a very strange thing to be afraid of.
Well, you think so, but then, I mean, I'm also scared of spiders
Hmm.
after a certain size. If it's bigger than my thumbnail, I don't like it. If it gets bigger than that, and in the UK, we don't have like we don't have spiders like you guys have. You nothing here can. I, I think they're hard pressed to even bite us.
Mm.
Um, but there's nothing venomous here. There's nothing bigger than I don't know what a good way to represent the circumference of a spider and its legs would be in the UK. The biggest spiders we have here are house spiders, and they're like brown, um, say like a drinking glass, like a whiskey glass.
Okay.
So you can put your like thumbs together and index fingers together around it, and it's like a circle. Right? That's about as big as they get in leg span. You could hold it in the palm of your hand, and it's not
Oh.
really anything. I would not do that, by the way.
Right.
Um, I mean, I am aware that obviously in the States, particularly in the South, you got some really big dudes, and even like Black Widows, I don't think they're actually particularly big, are they? They're just really, really venomous.
Yeah, they're just really dangerous. Oh.
So we don't have to worry about spiders in this country, but I'm absolutely terrified of them. Once they get past a certain point in size, and there's no rationale for it because I know they can't hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 1,000 times bigger than these little dudes,
Right.
and I could just stand on it, which I won't do because I don't agree with killing them just because I'm scared of them. It's not their fault. Right? But yeah, I'm terrified of spiders, and I think the reason that I'm terrified of spiders has nothing to do with any sort of trauma, or maybe it was, and I can't remember because it was so traumatic. But I don't think so. I think that's the reason that arachnophobes exist is because of some old lizard part of your brain that recognizes them as a predator, like an evolutionary thing.
When I was growing up, we had daddy long, like, oh gosh, it was too many daddy long leg spiders in our apartment, and they're harmless. they're they're not venomous at all, and they probably don't even bite. I don't even think they bite. They're, you know, but
How big are they?
they're,
We
oh,
we, we do have daddy long legged spiders here, but I'm not sure if they're the same type that you have.
uh, I'm gonna assume yes, that they can get pretty big. And it was just from childhood. I wasn't told that they were harmless. I just knew that they were a spider and they were creepy. And so I just always was afraid of them and never got over that.
Are they the ones that like it's like a if I've remembered this correctly, if they're anything like the UK um, daddy long legged spiders, it's like it's not even like two bits. It's just one, just kind of one bit that I don't know how to explain it. Do they have like legs that are so thin they're like hairs,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And just like a like kind of a P in the middle.
I don't remember and I'm trying not to.
Sorry, I don't.
Can you describe the thing you're afraid of in very big detail? I don't wanna.
Can you try a little bit? No, I'm joking.
Oh, you
Sorry,
can.
I didn't mean to trigger you there.
No,
Yeah,
you're
I think
fine.
they must be. They're not like really big spiders in the UK. Like they're the body part, and it's just one bit is like smaller than a nickel, I guess. Maybe you have bigger versions over there, but they're like half a nickel in size in the body, and the legs can kind of span out
Yes. It's their
quite
legs that go
far.
really far. Okay. Yep.
I don't like them either. I'm less scared of them than I am of the house spiders that I was telling you about before.
Okay.
Um, I can't remember how we got onto the subject.
Things that are
Oh yeah,
afraid of, or
that's right. Oh yeah, Daisy asked things if I write about things that scare me. That was it, wasn't it?
yes. Do you write things that you find scary yourself, or do you use formulas that you know to be scary to others?
Yeah. So the short answer is I write about things that I find scary, but also I would only write it if I thought someone else might find it scary. I don't have a formula per se.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I think horror as a genre being, if you could describe it as the intention to scare or horrify,
Mm.
that's what I try and write. I intend to scare people, but I write things that I think, oh yeah, you know what, I wouldn't like to be in this situation. But I'm a total wuss when it comes to horror, whether it's horror stories, horror movies. I'm just scared. I will literally sit and if I'm by myself, I mean I do watch loads of them,
Hmm.
but I will literally sit whether I'm with friends, family, by myself, and I do watch them by myself because I'm a sucker for punishment. Um, I will have a cushion like on my lap to hide behind and just like pull down a little bit so I can only see a little bit of the screen
Yeah.
because I'm scared.
Yeah.
I'm so able to suspend my disbelief, and that's, I guess, partly why I love it so much as a genre. I can't watch a comedy movie that I don't think is funny and suspend my disbelief enough to laugh.
Mm.
I can watch a badly made horror movie and still find something in it. You know, I don't know, can suspend my disbelief enough to maybe go, "Ooh, that was a bit creepy."
Yeah. Yeah. I usually find horror movies funny. I usually more find them funny than scary, especially if they're bad.
So, like, what was the last horror movie that you watched?
Mm. That one, his house or their house?
Oh, His House with the British one.
Yes,
Yeah, what do you think?
I loved it.
It was such a good movie, I thought.
So good.
And
Yes.
I think that's another. I hate it that people kind of dismiss horror because it's horror when it can be used like that as a lens for real life and the things that are happening to people
Yes.
politically, like just that's the reality that refugees in our country are going through in some places, that everything that happened to that family.
I was just like, yes. Why aren't we doing more horror movies that make sense, that can relate to real life? Why is it murderers who can't die? Why, I'm not knocking those. I'm just saying it helps me to get into the movie more if it's something that's more realistic than mystical.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I love horror as a genre, so
Mm,
I don't need it to be something like that. I don't need it to be saying something.
right.
But at the same time, I think it horror can be used as such a good lens to perceive, you know, real life horrors or real life situations, like with His House.
Absolutely.
That I mean, it's a horror movie, obviously based on the content and what happens in the house, but I mean, it's the horror is used as a lens to, I wouldn't say comment on, but just kind of present the reality of what people are going through.
Yes.
And that reveal when they get on the bus,
Yes. Oh,
that was the most horrifying moment, and it was nothing supernatural. It's like, oh my God.
could you? Oh my gosh, could you imagine?
I mean, we shouldn't probably
No, yeah.
say what that is because people might listen. But yeah, that was, oh my God, that was one of the most horrifying moments in cinema history for me. And I guess because it wasn't like just some nonsensical guy with knives on his glove murdering people while they're asleep, and
Right.
that's scary in itself. And horror for the sake of horror is okay. But did you watch a movie came out last year called Smile?
No, I haven't watched that one yet.
I really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I think again, it's one where it has something to say.
Okay.
Um, I don't want to say what I think it was about because I don't want to spoil it.
Right.
But there's element of like how people deal with and perceive mental illness.
Okay.
Right? It's creepy as shit. Um, it's a good movie, man. I watched. Did you ever see a movie called It Follows?
Yes, I did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What did you think of that one?
It was okay. It was creepy, but it didn't keep me up at night.
Fair enough. I love that movie. Um, and there were some allegories in there. Oh, I mean, obviously the theme is about sort of sexually transmitted disease,
Mm,
which I think was kind of the theme of it, wasn't it?
yeah.
I think there is some stuff about um, sort of Puritanism in there as well. I think. Do you remember the beginning scene where the girl goes in the house and then runs out of the house and she's got high heels on
Right.
and she runs away? And at that point in the movie, you have no idea what the heck is going on.
Right.
Um, but I think her house number is something like, "Forgive me, I'm going to embarrass myself with my lack of knowledge about American history." 14. It's a prominent year for some for some reason. It's like 1498 or something.
When Columbus sailed the ocean blue,
Was that 1498?
I thought it was like 1492 or something that it rhymed
Maybe
or
it was
something.
that. It might have been 1492. I'm sure the house number of her house is something like that, 1492, and it has some sort of historical significance. Um, anyway, yeah, I really liked It Follows. Smile, I think, quite heavily influenced by It Follows, but takes this a similar story in a different direction. It's not the subject matter is not the same, but it's a similar thing. Um, one of my good friends who's really into horror movies prefers Smile to It Follows. Um, so yeah, I'd recommend it. But the point that I was trying to raise when I brought that movie up is that again, it says something. It's if you can interpret it the way that I think it's supposed to be interpreted,
Mm.
it's um, they use horror as a lens to frame a certain thing that a lot of people go through, and there's a message there. Same with His House.
Yeah, I'm sold.
Yeah, it's a good movie,
Yeah.
and it is creepy as shit. It's one of them. I watched it by myself, and I had the cushion. I was like,
And you had the what?
the cushion.
Oh, you were hugging the cushion.
Yep, just pulling it away a little bit at a time, so I could see a little bit of what was on the TV screen.
Yeah,
Just because like it's good at ramping up the tension.
I see.
You know something's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know exactly when or where, and it does have jump scares in it, like we were talking about earlier.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it keeps you on edge quite a lot, but also has um, there's a message behind it, and it has a lot to say about humans and uh, tolerance of what humans are going through.
Mm.
I would say,
I love horror movies like that. I love psychological horror is definitely at the top. I If you recommend it and it has like a message to it, then absolutely. That's I think that what was it? 1772 or whatever the year was of the movie that I said earlier.
oh, the Tom Jane one,
Yes, the Tom Jane one. If I
1492.
I no, it can't be
Sorry, I'm
1492.
being silly. No,
Oh,
no, no.
okay. And the thing about the movie that I like so much, not just I must have seen it maybe 20 times, even just like having it play in the background, um, is that the main character, Thomas Jane in the movie, is someone who you sort of root for them, but you also kind of hate them, and
Hmm.
you feel bad for them, but you also just you want them to fail also. Like it's a very complicated character that Stephen King was able to create.
Like horrible dude, but you understand where he's coming from.
Yeah,
Okay.
sort of. Like it's very complicated. You still can't. I understand where you're coming from, but it's like, why, dude? Why? And
Yeah,
but then you kind of hope that things work out, but then you're kind of also like, you deserve pain. Like you, like you kind of want him to be okay, but you kind of don't want him to be okay. And so I love that. I love how they were able to do that with the writing.
cool.
Mm.
Yeah, I like that. I think some of the best villains
Mm.
are somewhat sympathetic
Oh yes,
because nobody's born like the kind of like a high school bully. There's learned behavior,
yes,
right?
yeah,
It's all circumstantial, and not that I'm suggesting that criminals, murderers, rapists, or whatever should be forgiven for what they do. It comes from somewhere. I don't think it's all mental illness. I think part of it's upbringing.
right.
Um, I can't remember. I'm gonna sound ignorant when I say this, but I did read some statistic about how people who end up sexually abusing people, there's some massive percentage of them were sexually abused themselves, right? So like yeah, so learning behavior.
Right.
School bullies beat people up because they're getting beaten up at home. Nobody just decides to beat someone up.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there are probably elements that, or there are probably some kids that will do that anyway. But I think for the most part, I think it's learning behavior. Um, and that kind of I think that makes for a more sympathetic villain in a
Absolutely.
movie.
Can't be
Like
so
I've never been,
simple as Jason. Like
yeah,
just be a murder hobo and just end up just
like Jason as in Friday the 13th, Jason.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But to be fair, like if you watch the original movie, like obviously his mum was the one that killed everybody in the original movie, but she did that because he drowned because nobody was looking after him and he had special needs. He
Mm,
still has kind of a sympathetic backstory. I'm not
mm,
saying he should have spent the next 20 years murdering people,
right.
but
Right.
but at its core, he was a sympathetic character. You
Mm,
know, Freddy Krueger, not whatsoever. He was a child murderer, and I think the illusion is that he wasn't just a child murderer, right? And he got set on fire by the parents of the kids that he murdered. He was
right.
not the sympathetic character, but where did he get that from? You don't
Yeah.
just wake up one day and decide to do that.
Mm, heavy.
But conversely, I think Michael Myers. I'm a huge fan of John Carpenter's Halloween, the original one, the 1978 one.
Right.
Um, I love the fact that he just murdered. What was he like 6 years old or something at the start of the movie? He kills his sister and he spends his entire life in a mental institution. His doctor says, "Don't ever let him out because he's literally just evil. There's no redemption in there.
Mm-hmm.
He knows what's going on. He just doesn't want to talk to anyone because he just wants to murder people. And then he escapes and murders people.
Mm,
And I find that quite scary as well because he's not sympathetic. He just did it.
yeah. Yeah.
I think with like characters, like you can see where it came from. Something happened, and that's how they now live their lives because it's learned behavior. Michael Myers had none of that. He was just a psychopath and started murdering people.
I love murder documentaries where they go back in the past and, trace where a serial killer went wrong or how they were raised. And you just,
Yeah, like true crime stuff.
true crime, yeah. Yeah.
Did you watch that latest one? Well, not latest one, but the most recent famous one on Netflix. Who was it about?
The one that's in trial, like right now or something?
No, no, it was a historic case. They did a dramatization of it.
Like he was killing hookers or something?
No, I think he was killing gay men.
Oh, Gacy. Not Gacy.
Dahmer,
Dahmer.
Dahmer, Dahmer. That's it. That's it.
Yes.
It's got Evan. I can't remember his name. The
Me
actor
neither.
Evan something.
Dahmer, yes. Yeah, I did. That was nerve wracking. Holy crap. Holy
I
cow,
haven't
that
seen
was
it.
good. It was it was good. And I mean like once it got to maybe the last two episodes or so, I was like, okay, I can't take any more of this. Can we? Um, yeah, I'd watch it again, but I would not be able to watch it sober. Like I would, you couldn't. At least then I know how things are gonna turn out, and I won't be so tense. I was so freaking
Yeah,
tense the whole time. I was like, oh.
that's kind of a hallmark of good storytelling. Like if you watch a thing and it's like, oh God, this is horrible,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to rewatch it and you're still anxious about it, even though you know
Yeah.
what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's good horror or thriller or however you want to phrase it.
I gotta agree. I'm almost scared to watch it again just because I don't know how it's going to affect me. I was like, dude, I'm never going into another person's house and drinking anything they give me. I'm coming with my own drinks from now on.
Hmm. What's your drink of choice?
Oh. um, root beer.
Root beer. You don't drink booze.
I mean, if they're serving booze, oh, okay. Well, then I didn't know if you were going that route. Sake.
Sake. Oh, I love sake. Sake's so
Yes.
nice.
Yes.
We have a not far from my house. There's a Chinese supermarket and it sells sake.
Oh,
Yeah,
love
love that.
it.
It's just the right level of. There's nothing tastes quite like sake, does it?
Mm-mm. No.
That's sort
Hot or cold?
of cold. I've never tried it hot.
I prefer it hot.
Yeah,
Yes. It's different to me. I like it. I like it better that way.
I'm prepared to give that a go.
Do
I
it.
just I never did it.
Do it and report back to me.
Heat it up in a saucepan or something.
So, I put it in the microwave.
Oh, that's fine. We have microwaves in the UK. That's cool. Um,
Okay.
I can. Yeah, we're allocated one microwave per street. So if I
BS.
walk like 8 doors down, I can probably use my neighbor's microwave.
Come on, are you serious?
No,
Oh my goodness. You
dude,
almost
no.
had me.
Really? Okay.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah. I feel mean now.
No, that's fine. I'm learning a lot today. You learned about Columbus. It's 1492 officially.
Yep, 4092. No, yeah, I will try it in the microwave then. If that if it's nicer, warmer in your opinion, I will check that out.
Yes. And then you tell me.
I will.
Daisy, Shylas had another question. She asks, what is your writing hygiene routine, i.e., a quiet room, fresh coffee, candles, etc., when you sit to write, or do you simply wait for the mood to take you?
Uh, the last one, I wait for the mood to take me. Um, I don't have like a setup. I don't have any kind of. I don't need to set the mood in the room to write. Um, but because I have a kid, it's not always possible to write when the mood takes me.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a 9 to 5 job as well. So daily, I'm working. So evening time is my time to write when my kid goes to bed. Um, Sometimes by that point, because I've been working, I am I'm just not feeling the writing.
Right.
I'm too tired and I'm not inspired. In spite of having, I get to work and it could be like 11 a.m. and I start thinking, oh, I've got a really good idea for a story.
Yeah.
I really need to write this right now, but I can't because I'm at work. I'll write it tonight. Then I'll get home.
Mm-mm.
We'll have dinner, take the bins out, do the cleaning,
Mm.
chores, washing, do the dishes,
Mm-mm.
make sure my kid's done his homework, blah, blah, blah. He goes to bed, it's 8 o'clock. And I'm like, no, no, I do not want to do writing right now.
I'm surprised you could still remember what you were going to write. That amazes me in itself.
Well, I have a notes app on my phone so that if I have an idea, I
Okay.
write it down for like if I have like some time off work
Right.
where I can recharge, which is when I get more the inspiration and motivation to write for me comes from when I've had a day or two off work.
Mm-hmm.
Because I work, I mean, my 9 to 5 job is office based, so I'm
Okay.
laptop based essentially.
Yes.
So the last thing I want to do at 8 o'clock after a day of work, after doing chores, sorting my kid out, is sit down to my other laptop and write some stuff.
Right.
Mm.
See, and that's so sad because when the inspiration hits, for me, when inspiration hits me, I'm the same way. I'm not one of those people that's like from 10 to 4 p.m. or 10 to 12, I'm going to write 3,000
No.
words and go. No, that will never happen.
Mm-mm. No, I do not have that discipline whatsoever. I mean, I've kind of tried it. I thought even if it's just once a week, just pick one night of the week where from 8 to 9 I just write. But that's not how the creative process works, is it? If on that night at 8 o'clock, if I don't want to write, I'm not going to write. There's no point in writing something crappy, you know, just to get it out. I'd rather wait until I had the time and motivation and inspiration to
Exactly.
actually make it good.
And then once I'm inspired and I'm writing, then I'm in the right headspace to write that. And sometimes I don't finish it in that one sitting. So then it goes undone and then I walk away and whatever life happens and what a month or a week or whatever happens, I come back and I'm like, well, I'm not feeling this story anymore or I'm not in the same headspace anymore. I want to do something else. And so I have a ton of stories that aren't
Yeah,
done, still waiting for that inspiration to come back to finish them.
yeah. Well, that's it. But the flip side is like you might spend some time away from the story and go, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Then in 6 months' time, come back to it and go, oh my God, yes,
Yes.
now I know how to finish this story. If you have no like deadlines, if you're an indie writer like me, I don't have a publishing deal. I just write, and when I can publish, I will publish. Um, but if you're not contracted and you don't have a deadline that you need to meet, you have that luxury of stepping away from stuff for sometimes for me months at a time. And then I'll look through my notes or look through my Google Docs and go, what have I not finished? And then be like, oh yeah. Oh. And now in that period, I've had so much more, you know, experience in life that I understand exactly where the story needs to go.
That's best case scenario. You get inspired and like weeks or months or whatever down the road and then you're able to finish it. That's great. Mm.
Yeah. I mean, I don't kind of, that doesn't happen to me very often because my stories are so short.
Hmm.
I mean, a lot of mine are like a page,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
2 pages or sometimes a paragraph or
Yeah. A
something.
few paragraphs, if that. Yeah.
And my ethos is if I can tell a story in the shortest time possible, that's fine because my attention span will go. And if I can do it well in that short space of time, and it works, then great. But for that reason, I don't tend to set things aside and come back to them months later because it's so short. When I start writing a story, I've already got an idea in my head a lot of the time about where it's going to go.
Hmm.
If you're writing like a 2 page like story, you don't need to go away for 6 months and ruminate over it.
I don't
You know,
know. So I don't know about that.
you don't need to. It might be better for the story if you did.
Mm. Yeah.
I've got an ongoing thing at the moment. I started writing something probably 3 months ago, and then I lost interest in it, and just sort of recently remembered it again, and I want to pick it back up. But I don't know. For me, for the most part, if I leave it, if I try and start writing a story because I've had an idea,
Hmm.
a really short story, as mine all are, and I leave it that long, it's because I've forgotten about it.
Yeah.
it's not like I put it on the side and went, I'll come back to this later. It's like I'll start writing something else and then I'll just forget that I started writing it.
Mhm.
So that's why I have an app on my phone, like a notes app, and one of the notes is story ideas, so that I can just check it regularly.
Do you have any training or did you take any writing classes at all?
No, not at all. No,
No, you just write.
uh, no, just right. Um, I mean, I don't want to sound
Mm.
like like pompous about
Yes,
it.
yeah.
I, when I was in high school, I would say my strongest skill. What do you call school before high school?
Junior high school.
Junior. Okay, it's just junior school in the UK,
Mm.
right? So when I was at junior school until 11 years old, then you go to high school. That's how it works. Yeah.
For us, you go to junior high school until you're 13, and then you're in high school from 14 to 18.
Right. Okay. Well, weirdly, when I was in high school, you got to leave at 16,
Ooh.
but but I think it's changed now. You have to remain in education until you're 18.
Huh.
You don't have to stay in high school, but you have to go to college for 2 years or something.
Oh,
Mm.
interesting. Okay.
But I found that my aptitude in high school was writing. I think I understand the English language quite well.
Mm.
Um, I read a lot in junior school before that, and I don't think you can write. I don't think you can be a writer if you haven't read books.
I mean, you'll probably have a very unique writing voice, but that helps a lot.
Yeah, it's like I don't think there's any like a wrong or right way of writing either. You
Mm.
know,
Of course not. Yeah.
there's I mean, just going back to Stephen King and some of his work and the language that he used to use when he was trying to do sort of regional dialect and stuff like that. Um, I know my grammar and spelling well enough. I know how you should write a story,
Mm.
but a lot of people don't, and I don't think it matters sometimes. Like you can, a good story is a good story, right?
Yeah.
If you're not exactly following all the rules of grammar and the English language at all times, it doesn't mean you're a shitty writer. You know, writing is about. I mean, it's partly about that. About you don't want to have loads of spelling mistakes in a novel, obviously,
Right.
but writing is at its core, I think, about telling a story. How you tell the story, the pacing of it, beginning, middle, end. Are people going to be gripped by it? Is it what you want to tell? Um, I don't think that's the kind of thing that can really be taught. I think you can learn grammar and spelling and obviously reading and writing because we all learn that at school, right?
Right.
Um, but I think the being able to tell a story is something that you cannot do without having read stories.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't think people necessarily need to be grammatically perfect in their work. That's what editors are for, isn't it?
A lot that stops a lot of people, I think. That stops a lot of people from pursuing writings. It's like I'm not a good writer. Like I don't know how to spell well, or I don't know about how to use a semicolon the right way. Like stuff like that, grammar
Mm-hmm.
things. And it's not about that. It's about sharing your voice and doing it, the best way to reach the most people, I guess.
Yeah, it is absolutely.
Mm,
And I mean, how do you define being a writer?
shoot.
You know,
Hmm.
so I don't have any contract. No one's like called me and gone, "Hello guys, would you like a book deal? We could be the next Hogwarts." You know, I wrote some stories because I wanted to get them out of my head, and I had the time to do it during lockdown, and I self-published it on Amazon. Amazon got paid for it, and I'm proud of doing that. I'm proud that I got a book out there. Not, a lot of people can't say that,
Yeah, you should be.
but I also think it's not. I think the grammar and the spelling and everything plays a huge part in it, but art is art, and writing is an art, and it shouldn't have rules. You know,
Oh, yeah.
you can learn techniques and you can learn how to present things and learn how to do it academically properly, but you know, writing a story is like painting a picture. It's there's no right or wrong way of doing it. I don't think.
Those stories that don't follow that strict grammatical structure, those are the ones that stand out to me the most.
Mm.
Poetry. Poetry can be anything.
Yeah, it can, and yeah, structurally, I mean, there are no real rules to poetry.
Mm-mm. Nope.
People are like, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna write a poem, like, and just make it all rhyme, and it's like, no, I mean, that's fine, but you don't have to do that. You can just write a list of words, in my view, so long as it has some sort of story behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't know. I'm probably phrasing that badly.
Something like that. That's how that's how loose poetry is. It doesn't doesn't need
Yeah,
even to have a story behind it. It's poetry.
no, and it's all writing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You could write a short story that's a page long. I have written several that are a page long. I would like to explore something outside what people perceive to be the structural narrative that you should adhere to.
Mm-hmm.
Just write a list of words and see if I can, you know, write a story with that, whether it resonates with people.
What drives you to narrate since it's not something that is high on your list?
Partly just because it's a hobby,
Mm.
um, because I never really wanted to be a narrator. It wasn't high on my list of things to do was to um, get monetized.
Mm.
I know I've looked into it because I mean, money's helpful.
Mm-hmm. Right.
When I realized it was like, is it like what's the watch time in the last year that you have to have?
4,000.
4,000 plus 1,000 subscribers,
Yes.
which I've got. I do have 1,000 subscribers, but it's basically a hobby, so I'm never gonna put in the work to get to the point that I release so many videos, um, schedule so many videos like weekly or several times weekly,
Right. Yeah.
so that I can get monetized. I don't really care about it. It's not why I do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've seen people over the past few years who've started new channels. I won't name any names, but they've gone from strength to strength. That they used the standard formula,
Yeah.
which is get permission for Reddit stories and then just narrate them all and release 2 or 3 videos a week.
Mm-hmm.
People on 9,000 subscribers now making a living off it. It's great. I'm happy for them. A lot of people are. I'm never going to disparage someone for being able to make some money. You know,
Right.
but That's not what I'm about in terms of YouTube and narration. Um, I continue to narrate because it keeps interest in my channel, and sometimes I will announce things on there like I've got this new book coming out,
Mm-hmm.
probably, hopefully, towards the end of the year. Um, and the more people who are interested in my channel and are watching, if I announce it on there, then maybe someone else will see the book as well. You know? It's kind of a means to an end.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, when I narrate things, I listen back and I think it's quite nice. I think I have quite a nice voice for storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
I've been told that by people, but if I could get away with doing it every now and then, like every couple of months, just narrate a story, like say every 2 months or something,
Yeah.
which I could do, and people would like it, that would be nice. That if it was at my leisure. Uh, but you cannot release things that so infrequently because it just doesn't. The algorithm doesn't pick it up.
Yeah.
You have to grind. You have to grind.
Yeah.
You have to grind. You have to be like video at least a video a week, if not that more. And then you get people who are doing text to speech who are just kind of cheating,
Mm. Mm.
you know.
Mm.
But again, not going to name any names, and I'm not going to disparage anyone from tapping into the creepy pasta market,
Mm.
and making money from YouTube in that way. But there are some people who I find that the way that they tell a story is so like really dull, you know? It sounds like they're just reading the story
Yeah. Yeah.
rather than telling the story, and I don't like that. Again, that's up to them, not disparaging people for doing that. That's what they want to do
Whatever.
with their channels.
Yeah.
But I prefer when I narrate something, I prefer to tell the story and try and inject a bit of emotion into it. Even though I'm doing it in like my posh voice as a storyteller, I think I can tell a story well. I'm not. It doesn't. I think it doesn't sound like I'm just reading from a page.
Right. Right.
In the same way that you don't sound like that when you narrate stuff. Right? I mean, obviously we are reading something when we record, but you don't sound like you're reading. You sound like you're telling a story.
It's really important to me. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, same for me.
Yeah.
I know you have like various channels now, um, but even on like the first like what I would consider to be your main channel,
Yes.
um, when I've gone back and watched or rather listened to some of your narrations and stuff on there,
Mm-hmm.
there's quite a myriad of stuff. There's like let's play kind of stuff. There's some ASMR, I think.
Like the Good Morning Sunshine ones, or
Yeah, I think so. Like where you were kind of in character, like affirming someone.
yes.
Uh,
Like I was on a phone call talking to
it's been a
someone.
while. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was something like that. There might have been a couple. I think there's Wake Up Sunshine.
Good
Yeah,
Morning
yeah,
Sun.
yeah,
Yeah. Uh-huh. What about it?
yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to say, um, that I loved it and that you have a perfect voice for ASMR. I'm a big ASMR fan, um, but also, do you find that having such varied content on one channel, do you think it diminishes like your returns on it? Do you think you get fewer views because people aren't quite sure what you're gonna do?
So Short answer is yes. It definitely does diminish your. I mean, I've lost subscribers. I pretty much lose a subscriber every time I upload a video. I don't know why
Same,
this
same,
happens. You too?
same. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I have my established theme of my channel, and sometimes it's a narration, sometimes it's folklore, sometimes it's a creepypasta or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, every time I upload a video, someone unsubscribes.
Yeah.
So that it's not just me then. That happens to everybody. Well, it
No.
happens to you.
Well, at least it happens to us. It yes. And
It's so weird.
I I think that because I uploaded those, there were people who liked it. Thank you for saying that you liked it. That really means a lot because those videos really they were therapeutic for me in a way, and I they were really fun for me to do. Yes, having them on there, I believe hurt my channel. I took them off of this channel, the main channel, and I put them on, well, I put them on my ASMR channel, but I was trying to fix it so that it looked like it was supposed to be on the ASMR channel. So they still
Sure.
exist. They're just on the ASMR channel now. Um, but yeah, I think that it hurts. It hurts your channel. I took a lot of things off. There were celebrity interviews, there were inspirational things, there was random stuff, there was, um, yeah, it was the ASMR stuff. I took all of that stuff off and I tried to put them where they're supposed to be or just put them unlisted. And I think it's helped my channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, I'm no expert. I mean,
Yeah, neither am I still.
I just do things. I I try and thematically stay within horror, but I mean, sometimes I'll do like a narration. Sometimes it'll be me hosting it as the doc, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, but it's all just a means to an end. I like to get my stories out there, and it means a lot to me when people like my story, I guess.
Of
Can I
course.
share a secret with you about my channel?
Should I stop? Should I hit record? Should I stop the record button?
Wait, are we recording now?
Yeah, what?
Oh, oh my goodness, you
You're
confused me.
so
No, no, it's
silly.
not. It's not like a
A secret. Okay.
no. When I um in during the lockdown period when I started the Dr. Gallow videos on
Mm-hmm.
my channel, um, I rebranded my channel. I already had about 700 subscribers at that point, and then I changed it to my Dr. Gallow horror channel.
Mm. And what happened?
Well, I mean now I've got sort of 1,500, you
Right.
know, or whatever. Um, but the reason I had about 700 subscribers was because it was a Lego channel.
What?
Yeah, me, a grown middle-aged man.
That's not why I'm laughing. I'm laughing because it's so different from your horror channel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not ashamed. Yeah, I used to as a hobby, and as I say, this is like as a it was before my kid was born, so it was in my sort of
You don't have to make excuses for it. Legos are cool. Oh, Lego, sorry.
yeah. I'm not necessarily making excuses for it.
Mm.
I just think there might be other dudes out there who are like of similar age who might be a bit ashamed of it, and I want to admit this because I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of, you know.
Oh, okay.
Um, but yeah, I used to customize Lego minifigures. So I think in America you just call them Legos, right?
We just call them Lego.
Do you?
Yeah, it's like when people don't know that the plural version of Lego is Lego, they people freak out.
Because I saw so many videos during that period where like people would refer to them as Legos, and I thought that was kind of like a standard thing, like in the US. Like it was
It's standard when they don't know. Yeah.
yeah, cool. Okay,
Mm.
right, fine. Um,
So did you lose your 700 people when you started putting like what happened?
well, I don't know. Like I mean, I was at about 700. I'm now about 1,500 ish, somewhere in that region, and I do lose subscribers.
Hmm.
And I think I don't know. Like you were saying, you can upload something and people will just unsubscribe.
Yes.
So for, like for whatever reason,
Yeah.
um, I don't know if sometimes children who followed my channel because it was about Lego sometimes go, "Oh, what's that guy up to?" and then revisit the channel and then see me as Dr. Gallow doing my thing
Yeah.
and telling horror stories in that horrible mask.
Yeah.
And then unsubscribe because they're terrified. I mean, I don't want to traumatize kids, obviously. Um, but I don't know. I think people drip out when they kind of rediscover my channel from what it used to be.
Yes. I can imagine.
So I'm kind of perennially at about 1,550. It drops down to 1,543. Then it will go up by 345. Then it'll go up to 53, which is at now.
Hmm.
And then, next week it'll go back to 1,545 or something. It's bizarre. I
Yeah.
think gradually, like these kids are rediscovering the channel and going, "Oh my goodness, I don't want to be a part of this."
Or their
Uh,
parents.
also, their parents, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all my videos are marked not for kids, so I think
Right.
they don't see them, you know, by default.
Yes.
I think they might be going, "Oh yeah, let's see what he's up to." And then,
Let's see what awesome Lego thing he's built.
yeah, but there's remember that British Lego guy? He made some cool customs, man. Let's see what he's up to now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Giant spiders and people with their face melting. Ah.
yeah. Therapy. I'm forcing kids into therapy. Oh man. But
Look at it.
up to 700 subscribers, I was doing well. I think I was quite good at the Lego customization.
You must have been.
Um, but here's the thing that I know from having gone through that YouTube experience at that time,
Mm.
and I think a lot of not to sound patronizing, um, but I think some newer YouTubers don't understand how it used to work.
Mm.
So you upload a video now, and the advice you found online is do an accurate title, an accurate description, and then you put your tags in, and the tags are perhaps not quite as important as the title and the description.
Hmm.
You read similar advice, maybe?
Yeah, same.
Yeah. When I started my channel, and my little boy is 8 now, and I did this before he was born, so it's probably 10 years ago
Mm.
when I did the Lego stuff. Um, you couldn't define your own tags for a video. They just had a list of tags. So like, I mean, the customs that I used to make were either like superhero stuff, Batman stuff, or horror minifigures. I've still got quite a lot of them. But when I tagged the video, you couldn't just go like Batman. It would suggest a tag and fill in the tag for you. So it'd be Batman,
Mm.
The Dark Knight, 2008, like the movie. So
Yes.
anyone searching stuff on YouTube for that movie would find your video.
Uh-huh.
And some of my videos of my Lego figures, like they has because I tagged them in that way that YouTube wanted you to do in their set categories. Some of my Lego figures had like 40,000 views.
Holy shiz.
Yeah,
Wow.
and they've changed all that now. Obviously, you can make your own tags now, but it was literally you could tag anything as, say, like a popular movie like The Dark Knight and the Batman movie.
Mm-hmm.
Tag it as that, and then anyone searching for The Dark Knight, the algorithm would send them to your video because you tagged it as The Dark Knight.
Yeah. Wow.
And literally, I think literally like 30, 40,000 views on some of those. It was just like stupid Lego figures, like 2 minute long videos about how I explained how I made like customized these Lego figures. Um,
Imagine what it would be now.
well, this is it. I can tag the video as much as I want with creepypasta, um, but there's no way I'm getting 20,000 views.
No. No.
And you're very like established dudes who have people who've bought houses from their income from doing creepypasta videos, right?
Yeah.
You know, the kind of people I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Mainly started around that time when creepypasta was a tag that you could use, and everybody, as soon as you tagged your video as creepypasta,
Yes.
everybody will watch it,
Yeah.
and that it's so much harder to break into that level of exposure now. And there are some people who've only been doing it a few years who they're up to 9, 10,000 subscribers because they work hard at it.
Oh, yeah, they
You know,
do.
they're pumping out videos. They know the algorithm. They know exactly how to market it. But I can't imagine anyone getting into the game now and getting like 100,000 subscribers because I think it's the tagging algorithm thing has gone. I think it'll be difficult for people to be like, for example, Swamp Dweller, right?
Yeah.
You know that guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Sounds
everybody
familiar.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's like at the peak of his game. You know, he's got to the point where he's just making such an income. He has a freedom to do what he wants. It's awesome. I really respect that.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine anyone starting out now is going to get to that level. I think the bottom's fallen out of it a bit because of how YouTube has changed the algorithms and changed the tagging system.
So they shouldn't even try?
Oh no, no, I'm absolutely not saying people should not try. Um, as I said before, there are people that I've been friends with um, for a few years, and they're reaching 9, 10,000 subscriber mark.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
and they're still doing it, which means they must be making some money off it. Otherwise, why would you keep, you know, bothering to do it if that's your motivation? Um, all I'm saying is, I think to get to the same level as some of the more established creepypasta guys, it will take like literally decades if it happens at all. That's
Mm.
not to say that people can't get into it and put the work in and still make money out of it,
Right.
but I think, and this is just my opinion, I don't know. I don't work for YouTube, obviously. I don't really fully understand the algorithm. There are people out there who absolutely understand the algorithm. I've seen people with 300 subscribers and they'll bring a video out being a relatively new channel and have like 5,000 views.
Right.
Yeah. Mm, now, to be fair, whether they actually understand the algorithm or
Hmm.
they are seeking other means to raise their view count,
Right.
I don't know. For like a year old account breaking into this creepypasta narration um endeavor and be getting views upwards of like 5,000 views on a video. I don't know. There's something a little bit fishy about that, I think. But it could be that they just understand the algorithm better than me, a middle-aged man.
Me too. Yes. A lot of people, yes, got some kind of cheat code, and we want to know what it is. Tell us what that
Yeah.
is.
And again, I'm not aiming any of my comments at anyone in particular.
Right, right.
Um, we're all trying to live, and we're all trying to
Mm,
make money so that we can provide, pay our bills. I don't have any. It doesn't make me angry when people maybe do a cheat code, as you said.
mm.
And it's all a means to an end, innit?
Yeah,
I'm a writer. I
yeah.
like writing. I put things on YouTube because I want people to be interested in my writing.
Mm,
I've got friends who just do Reddit stuff because they want to make some money, and that's fine. I mean, ultimately, I would love it if enough people notice my writing that I write my next book and I make some money out of it. It's all the same game.
absolutely, it is. Is there anything else you would like to say before we end the interview?
Um, Not really. I don't know. I'm not very good at bigging myself up. I
Mm,
quite like talking about stuff.
mm,
I don't like pushing my own, work. It makes me um just feel a bit arrogant about it. I don't think I should. I think that you don't get anywhere in any type of industry, artistically, if you do not push your own work, right?
right.
But I don't know. I can't separate the difference between pushing my work and feeling arrogant about how good I am at my work, if that makes sense.
Okay, that's fair.
Mm, I don't know. I don't think I'm explaining it very well.
No, I understand. I get what you're saying. Is the September 1st that's your estimated release date?
Yes, I hope to have it all done and will release it on Amazon on the 1st of September.
Mm,
That's the plan.
before Halloween.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well,
Cool. Yeah, this has been a really, really lovely experience. Thank you so much for having me.
oh, I'm so glad. I
I realized, like, obviously, before we actually started recording, we talked for quite a long time.
yeah.
Like looking at the call, it's been 3.5 hours,
Mhm.
and I don't talk to my friends. I don't talk to my kid for 3.5 hours.
I am honored.
You should be, mate. But
I
yeah, no. In all seriousness, no. This has been great. The fact that we've been talking for so long, I think, means it's been a mutually enjoyable experience. Um, it certainly has been a wonderful experience for me. So thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, no, it's the pleasure is all mine. And yes, I it has been so fun and I'm so glad we were finally able to do this. Um you are a joy. You are a joy to speak with.
You are a joy.
Oh, ugh.
No, you are a disarmingly charming host.
If I could blush, I would. I really would. All right, well, you guys, y'all are also awesome. Thank you for hanging out with us and getting to know Dr. Gallo. His new book is scheduled to be out estimated around September 1st. You'll find it on Amazon. But his book, Dr. Gallow's Nightmare Season, is available right now, and it is definitely worth a read. Y'all have a great rest of your week. I will see y'all soon. Bye, guys. Hi, everyone. I'm Dodge the Grave, and today I'm hanging out with horror narrator Booze and Booze. How are you doing today, man?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for asking. So, I was going through my list of Twitter followers to find someone that I hadn't interviewed yet, and I ran across yours. I ran across you on Twitter, and I'm so glad that I did because you have like such a good voice for narrating.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. So, why, thank you.
Why? Yeah, I should have really gotten. I should have flipped the switch for you. It was like, why? Thank you.
Put on the narrator voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.